Being overprepared is impossible in other mottos. By Please Dial 123. Chapter 3. Training Trip. Okay, kiddies, let's see what you packed, Kakashi said as he appeared amongst his 3 students. He could already see they had overpacked. He supposed they were a tad paranoid after having already seen Kakashi's version of training. Kakashi went through their weapons, noting quality and quantity. Sasuke having the higher quality, but Naruto having the most and most varied. He went through their medical supplies. Sakura, by far the most prepared, with Naruto the least. He went through the rations. Sakura having a good solid amount, while Naruto had the most, and Sasuke had the most balanced nutritious ones. As for bedrolls, Sasuke once again had the highest quality, and Naruto the least. It was easy to read their circumstances in their supplies. Naruto on his shoestring budget, but with a trap ninja mind frame and living a bit of a harder life. Sasuke with his pick of the Uchiha weapons, supplies, and money. Sakura with no ninja background to help know the more intimate details, but a good practical mind frame. Okay, seems like you'll be good. A little more than you really need, but oh well. Kakashi shrugged and didn't let any of his plans to help them lose some of that extra luggage show. Their outfits had changed slightly as well, and Kakashi nodded as he looked them over. Sakura and Sasuke had switched to pants. They were both light and breathable in the hot weather, but would cover more at night when it got chilly. They had both picked sensible black pants and strapped them to their ankles with bandages. Sasuke had kept his wide-colored blue shirt, but wore a tight, dark-colored long-sleeve shirt underneath. Sakura had kept a red shirt that hung low to her knees, but also wore a thin long-sleeve shirt under it and a dark green vest over it with a hood. Naruto still has the orange jumpsuit, but Kakashi could see he wore an extra layer of mesh and bandages underneath. All 3 now wore fingerless dark gloves. He was quite proud as he quickly realized what every extra layer was for. The 3 had found out how much help an extra layer of clothes could be, not just for protection or warmth, but to be used as extra material. Shirts could be cut into emergency bandages or made into rope. Extra bandages could be used as thread and ties. Everything could be of use, but bags could be lost. Clothes often weren't. They also all carried the dark brown cloaks he had given to them on the first trip. They were meant to blend in well with trees and dirt, waterproof and thick. Okay then, team, let's head out. He beamed. Kakashi didn't tell the kids where they were going, just pushed them at a fast pace. At the end of each day, they were all panting and exhausted. For the first week, Kakashi didn't bother setting watches, just let them rig traps and alarms, and they all slept. On the second week, he started a watch rotation as they drew further and further from Konoha. Where are we going, Sensei? Sakura finally asked after the second week of hard, quick travel. To the border of Tea Country, Kakashi smiled. Along the coast. Why? Seemed as good a place as any. He shrugged. If any place would work, why are we going 2 weeks out of our way? She said, exasperated. It's teaching you all how to travel quickly and efficiently. He smiled. It's a taste of what we would be expected to do if we were to be called on a mission. Sakura drew back, thoughtful at that. It was true. Kakashi had been teaching them watch rotations, how to pick their way through unfamiliar terrain in a more sure way than just trying to bumble home as quickly as they could. When he had dropped them in the woods, their only goal had been to get home in a decent time frame. Now he was teaching them how to actually travel through terrain with a leading commander and supplies. There was a difference. They didn't ask any more questions about where they were going as they efficiently traveled forwards. Kakashi taught them how to best jump quietly through the trees, working on their bounding and leaping and footing. He hadn't taught them how to stick with Chakra yet, but he wanted them to learn without it at first. If they ever found themselves drained or unable to use Chakra, being able to still leap and twist gracefully and quickly through the trees was a good skill. Kakashi also taught them better how to hide their tracks, how to hide signs of a camp. He taught them how to make false signs as well and lay false trails. He taught them about how you could be tracked. He didn't teach them any ninja skills as much. He taught a low-level genjutsu or 2 for hiding their trail, but everything else was a survival technique requiring merely wits and knowledge. Kakashi also took the time to tell them of various mission stories he knew weren't classified. At the end, he'd subtly test what they had been listening for, what they had been picking up. Every story had a lesson, be it how to escape a bad situation, when to abandon a mission, when to continue, etc. Kakashi made sure they remembered and could repeat what to do in situations back to him. He also tested all the things they should know coming out of the academy knowledge-wise. He did all of this easily enough as they traveled, his cute little guinea panting and rushing after him, answering in between gasps and pants as he worked on their stamina and barely paused. He knew he was pushing them hard, but none of them complained. Sasuke and Naruto would never complain, Sasuke wanting strength, and Naruto always wanting to know more about how to be an awesome ninja. Naruto would grumble, of course, ask how certain things were relevant, but if Kakashi explained, he would quiet down and listen. Sakura would have been the one to complain if the past 2 trips and the consequential punching Sasuke in the face conversation had not occurred. Instead, she was determined not to be the one left behind. Kakashi was very, very proud of all of them by the time they reached the border of Tea Country and stood on a beach looking out at the Kawa Pass. Okay, we need a more permanent camp. Kakashi smiled at his exhausted students. Once that is set up, you may have a day off to explore the area and relax. Sakura gave a half-hearted jeer. Now, where is the ideal location? We aren't in enemy territory, nor should there be any former ninja in this area unless they are passing by on a mission. Nor are there any villages within a day walk, so doubtful we will see any bandits. The 3 glanced at each other. In the trees, I think, Sakura said hesitantly. Definitely not in the open on the beach here. All Konoha ninja felt safer on the trees, and so he nodded. He got them working on an idea of what their camp should look like, chipping in here and there, until they had sketched out something in the dirt, and then they all set out together to find an ideal place. They ended up 20 minutes back into the tree line beside a small creek tucked out of the way. Kakashi pulled his own supplies out via a seal scroll and handed the 3 confused genin a set of axes. Well, go cut some trees down. We have enough tarp to make a covered area, but we need some poles. They set out after a bit more encouraging, and Kakashi watched until they came back, dragging some young cut trees. Together, they all set up a wide tarped area, using an extra large tarp Kakashi had brought of mottled greens and browns. It was an extra thick one, and they draped it up and over the poles, so it fell down the sides where they tied it down. You won't always have the tools to make a camp like this, but if prepared for longer stakeouts or stationary missions, it is very useful, Kakashi told them. Tents are fine by themselves, but are by necessity small. If you are in the same place for a long time, these tarps can help with camouflage, but also provide you shelter from wind and rain while giving you a communal area. They also dug a small fire pit under the new tent-like tarp, and Kakashi showed them how to use it without smoking themselves out. Then he dug out the 2 tents he had brought, and directed them to set them up, still under the large tarp near the back. You will decide how we are pairing up. 2 people a tent, Kakashi said. Sakura hesitated, as if she wanted to object, but she'd spent the last 2 months curled up in a heap with the 2 due to minimal supplies and the chilly nights. Sometimes you will not have the opportunity for separate sleeping arrangements, Kakashi further drilled. Best get used to it. Despite the fact he did not want to talk to them about it, Kakashi made a mental note to make sure they had all had the talk. The academy should have went over it with warnings of how rape was used as a weapon, but kids never listened well to such talks, too giggly and thoughtless at that age. Kakashi would make sure they understood the safety, the danger, and what no meant. He could turn it into harassment as well and kill whatever was left of Sakura's fangirling. They needed to know how to respect other people. He watched as they set the tents up, and when they were done, sent them out with the axes again to gather firewood. He was pleasantly surprised when they returned, arms loaded with wood and a brace of pheasants hanging from Naruto's shoulder. Naruto babbled a story about running across them as he held them up like an offering to Kakashi. Good job, he told the boy. Naruto beamed, all sunny smiles and crinkled eyes, as if he had been offered the world. Sometimes Kakashi was reminded of how desolate Naruto's life had been and what a small bit of praise meant to him. He was constantly reminded that these cute little kids, trying so very hard to be shinobi, were in fact kids. 12-year-old little kids with stick-thin wrists and wide eyes. It was so easy to forget. Too easy to forget. Now, what else could we need? Kakashi raised a brow at all of them. They shuffled and looked at one another. Proximity alerts and traps, Naruto finally tripped up. Good! Go set those up, and show Sakura and Sasuke how and where. Then you can have the rest of the day free. Kakashi watched them run off fondly and turned to gutting the pheasants to get them ready for dinner. Kakashi watched with half an eye as his cute little students ran around the beach and through the water. It was not sandy here, more rocky, but they had no care, turning over rocks to look at crabs and fish. It was revealed Naruto couldn't swim more than an instructive doggy battle, and soon Sakura was teaching him with a bossy tone. Kakashi was merely there to make sure they didn't drown as he sat with his book open as a prop and mentally made a list of what they needed to learn. Tree walking, water walking, various ninjutsu, various genjutsu. He needed to get their hand signs down to half signs. He needed to make sure they knew the basic academy jutsu so well they could do them in their sleep. They also all needed taijutsu practice, as Naruto only had a brawler style, Sakura didn't suit the academy style, and Sasuke had never learned the full Uchiha form. He needed to make sure Naruto was caught up on everything and get him started on some more high-level traps and perhaps seals. Sasuke needed more elemental jutsu and perhaps some blade training. Sakura needed some more of everything to better round her out. It was going to be a long few weeks. But Kakashi would have the distinct pleasure of not being the one tired or exhausted. The students looked up at him, alarmed, as he let a gaggle out. People liked to joke that they felt bad for whatever team of Genin finally got Kakashi as their sensei. With how many he failed, it had become a larger joke that many jonin weren't afraid to rib him over. With his chronic lateness, bad excuses, bad habits, bad self-care, and all-around eccentricity, people assumed he would be a terrible role model for children. Kakashi wondered if he should be offended. But the thing people brushed aside, was that Kakashi was a genius. He was smart. Most people had also forgotten that Kakashi had taught teams before. It was an open secret that he had been an Anbu captain, and Tenzo called him senpai all the time, but people seemed to forget. They seemed to forget that Anbu captains were responsible for training teams and new recruits. So Kakashi had been a teacher, albeit not of Genin, but really Anbu weren't that much different. You just taught them at a higher level. How is everyone feeling? Kakashi beamed at his students. A series of groans and moans met his ears as he looked at the slumped, exhausted Genin. The first day of training had gone well. Better than well, in fact. He had taught them tree walking to start. Sakura had got it on her first try. Kakashi had tried not to gape at her the way the boys had when she reached the top of the tree with one single try. The boys had been envious and awed, but Kakashi had been blown away. None of them understood how much chakra control something like that took. That wasn't even a skill Kakashi had gotten down on his very first try. His third, but still not his first. As the Yap listened to Sakura try to help the boys out by saying what she had done, Kakashi's mind had sprung into overdrive on what he could teach a girl with that level of chakra control. He had set the boys to mastering it and pulled her off towards the water to get her started on water walking. He twitched only the slightest when it took her 5 minutes to get it down. He had made her practice on water all day to help her grow her chakra reserves, telling her to practice jumping and sliding and running and even pulling herself out of the water with her hands. By the end of the day, all three had gotten it down, though Naruto had needed a bit more one-on-one coaching, but Kakashi could see his problem lay in how much chakra he had. We have to do dinner now, Kakashi smiled. What shall we have? Shall we go fishing? Can we please just eat rations tonight? Sakura groaned. I don't think I have the energy to forage or hunt. Kakashi gave them a long look before relenting. He made them do all the preparation, though. It only took half an hour for a fire to be started in their cover, rations cooked, and each of them to be sitting on a log in a circle, happily eating. Kakashi let them have some peace while they ate. He wouldn't push them physically in the evening unless they needed some night training, but he had an array of other things to teach them.